Yes, sir.
I believe some more discussion may be needed for the interpretation of your action you just took in terms of law enforcement for the events that are going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, run that by me again.
You just took the action of saying events that had previously been approved
Right.
are
allowed.
going to be allowed under the restrictions of the current executive order of the governor. I think your police department needs to know what your expectation is about enforcement of the executive order.
Can we not leave that to the discretion of the officers?
I think he's asking you not to just leave it to his discretion.
And I'm going to side with the department head on that. That puts him and his officers, now if it's in a pretty awkward position, because if they act and someone on this board disagrees, if we could just, I think this is a separate issue for those that have been approved. How does council expect law enforcement? Do you want it on a case-by-case basis? How do you expect me to be able to direct your police chief to enforce that?
I would like to see them be peace monitors, and if a attendant at one of these things or any attendant downtown violates a law, then they have violated that law. I would rather them just oversee the peace at an event that has more than 51 people or that violates a governor's order.
If you have an event and part of the people are in the free speech area and some are at the gazebo, is that technically keeping them, or is it one event?
So what the executive orders talk about is, what's the word they use? Not convocation. Anyway, events that gather more than X number of people together, and that number varies whether you're inside or outside. I think the executive order might be violated by having more than 50 people together at one event. But if they're on different sides of the street, you don't control any of the free speech zone that's the county's property. And I don't know how you would, even if your decision was that your police are supposed to go in and crack heads and take, if we got more than 51 people there, 51 or more people there to start issuing citations or something. I don't know how you do it on county control property anyway.
I think with that recovery event, because they have a limited amount of people, since this lady was communicating with me that I can keep them across the street and separate to where there wouldn't be any kind of incident to where it would violate it.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know of any dimensions on the area that you have to keep people 50 people within. I don't know whether it's a quarter of an acre or 50 acres or Grand Central Station or whatever. We don't have any dimensions on where 50 people can stand.
Because of social distancing.
So I think what you have to do is like Joe says, you have to use some common sense and some discretion on whether you think this is creating a public health hazard and creating a problem for the citizens in the county. Then the law enforcement, they have no question except to move in. They are sworn to uphold the laws of the state of North Carolina and the Constitution and so forth, and so they have to do that, but they have to use some common sense and discretion when it comes to trying to enforce something that doesn't have a finite size in order to do that with.
Might I add that I think the directives coming from Raleigh are vague intentionally so that our law enforcement officers are not burdened arresting people for frivolous reasons. There's enough crime in the world that we don't need to be arresting the 51st person. They're vague on purpose because they're not supposed to be enforceable. There are guidelines so that people with common sense do this thing. It's not meant to be people are arrested because they're the 51st person. It's meant for common sense folks to follow them. It's not to burden our law enforcement with frivolous action.
Yeah, not wanting to beat a dead horse, but we've limited it to 2 or 3 right now. And we have every expectation that at least those 2 are not going to be hard to deal with. Yeah. I would want to have, possibly some police presence there. If they were hard to deal with, you'd go to the organizers and you'd say, well, you have to pull the plug, pull the juice, the power. You won't have any right. and do things like that rather than try to arrest somebody.
Well, we can shut it down.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with Joe. I think we can beat this on and on and on, but let's move on, or either take a 5-minute break.
Call for the question.
Let's ask Chief, is that sufficient? Have we done sufficient justice to where
I think as long as this council is in agreement that we use our discretion and that there will not be any blowback by those decisions made, we're good.
Yeah, that's it, right there. An officer has discretion, and I trust every one of our police officers to use maturity, sensitivity, and if it goes beyond where they have to do something, they know what to do, and they'll do it.
Yeah, we don't want to foment anything
No.
either. I mean, that, people can get very angry in these, situations. So
I
I
have,
think discretion is the better part of valor here.
absolutely, yes. And I trust our officers.
I don't think we're talking the Billy stick side of discretion. I think we're talking the other side of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's right.
We don't carry slapsticks
Right.
anymore, okay. All right,
Thank you.
is that enough on that? We didn't have any motion to vote.
Yeah, we had a motion to second. I call for the question, Mr. Mayor. Did we
I
have
thought
have a vote yet?
I thought we voted, we had one and,
Do we have 5 to 1?
yeah, 5 to 1.
Okay.
Wake up over there, Jack.
I lost track of this conversation.
You lost track.
should we take a break or no?
Well, I offered to, 5-minute break,
Let's
you
take
want
a
one, let's do it. All right, now I'm gonna hold you to it, 5
Everybody gets
minutes,
ahead.
dude.